What's up guys, it's Cooper, and in this video I'm going to be breaking down the cinematography of One Day at a Time, which is a commercial I shot for Alpha Clothing Company featuring Teron Beckham, and I got a great response to the first cinematography breakdown I did for Holding Back Tears, so I thought I'd try it again and just share with you guys some of the techniques I use when shooting this piece. In this frame right here, we see Teron in a close-up, just a really contemplative moment right here where he's thinking about all of his hopes and dreams, you know, where he wants to be. We're in profile right here with the 55 Otis, so that's the focal length we're using right here. Once again, just a really down-to-earth focal length in my opinion, and so that was the lens selection that I chose for the shot. So this entire look really revolves around two light sources. So we've got a window out of frame over here that we diffuse, I think with some 216. That's illuminating Teron. That's his key light right here. Obviously it's daylight and pretty clean. You know, it's illuminating his hat right here. It's illuminating his hands, giving him those highlights. It's even spilling like 3/4 on his face. You can see it hitting him in on the ear, on his shoulder. And so that's the front source that we're getting. That's his key light. And you notice how it just really drops off. You know, you see this really stark contrast right here on his neck. And we have a black V-flat out of frame over here, and it's just a big piece of black that's cutting any spill in the apartment. And so that's giving us that really stark contrast, and that's what I really wanted in this moment. You know, it's not a bright, bubbly moment where we need a lot of fill. I wanted some contrast. You know, I wanted some darkness in the situation to give us some nice contrast. And so that's what's going on with this key light. And add just a little bit of pop of color contrast, and also to establish that he's in an apartment, he's in a domestic setting. We've got a lamp right over here that's giving us a little bit of yellow. Through the grade, it kind of made it a little bit stone. But yeah, so we got that really nice practical over there in the corner, that's nice. And you guys can kind of see, and it's done really through the bokeh as well, but we also threw a little bit of haze over here in the background, just to add a little bit of atmosphere to the shot. Not too much to where it felt like Thriller or whatever, but we wanted just a little bit to give a little bit of separation and to really make him pop in the frame. And so that's the look. You know, I'm really happy with this look. Turned out nice, and you know, kind of set the tone nicely for this piece. Here's a behind the scenes picture from that particular shot, and you guys can see these A-clamps right over here, and those are holding on the 216 diffusion, which is diffusing all of this light that's hitting our subject right here. Here's our practical right here in the background. It looks really nice. Then out of frame over here, we've got a black V-flat that's cutting some stuff in the deep background. To be honest with you, it was already pretty dark back there anyway, so I don't really think we would have gotten much anyway, but that's just there just to really cement the negative fill. And then behind me, over here, we've got some V-flats as well, cutting light from more windows over there on that side of the room. So pretty easy look, you know, two light sources, and the rest was really just negative fill, taking away light to shape our subject. So this is one of my favorite frames from the entire piece, this look right here. And basically it's Teron doing this really intense medicine ball workout. What I wanted to do in this frame is make him feel like he's in a space, like he's enclosed. This is the only thing that's on his mind right now, because it is, you know, you can see the focus in his face, the intensity. And the way we do that is by adding some context to the foreground of this particular scenario. And so you guys can see right here, all bokeh'd out, are these two medicine balls. So right away we see that this is, you know, that station, that workstation of, you know, this medicine ball drill. And so by putting those in the foreground, we see the context. We know that is what he's there to do. So imagine this frame right now without those, and it still look dope, but with those medicine balls in the foreground, they just act as a little bit of an entryway into that activity that he's completing. And so, and they also add some nice depth, which is always really good. And so that's why those medicine balls are right there in the foreground. We have a whole bunch of really cool shapes happening. Obviously, you know, the medicine ball that he's throwing is round. We see this ring right here. It's round. The medicine balls in the foreground have a circular shape, and so a lot of really cool shapes and lines happening in this frame. Something I always try to do when I'm able when it comes to composition is frame the subject within a frame. And so here's our frame, obviously, but you see right here, there's this wood plank, and notice how Teron, his head, sits perfectly within that. And that's all by design. It's important when you're able to place your subject where it makes sense. And it also creates some nice contrast because Tehran's in almost full silhouette. We've got a little bit of fill coming from this other wood plank over here that's bouncing a little bit of light back. But for the most part, he's really, really low key. And the wood, because of its exposure level, is a little bit hotter. It really separates him nicely within the frame and gives us some nice contrast. The lens I used for this shot was the Otis 55 millimeter from Zeiss. And the 55 is a nice focal length. They say 50 is the human eye, so the 55 is a little bit more telephoto, and it gives us a really, really dope human look. That focal length was a perfect fit in the scene because this is not glamorous. You don't see anyone around him, so he's not doing this for anyone but himself. You know, he's finding that that drive from within to complete this workout, to try to make his dreams come true. And so with that, you know, it's very, very down to earth. It's very humble. It's a very humble scenario of him just working hard. Nothing glamorous about it. In this particular shot, we've got 4 light sources. The first one and main one is a skylight. That's basically just giving us some ambience. It's all natural. There wasn't a light up there. There wasn't a space light. It was just a skylight letting in some natural light. And so that's, you know, that's giving us exposure on all of this right here. So you see the exposure right here on the wood, exposure on this plank here, on the top of Tehran's head, all along these walls. It's giving some exposure right here on his shoulders. And that's giving us a lot as it is, which is really, really nice. On the ground, I had a little bit of a fill card that's shooting up a little bit of tone on his face right here that you guys can see. That's why he doesn't just fade to black right there. It's because there's a fill card low that is giving him some fill right there. And then this wood right here is also giving him a little bit of natural fill. So that's the main source that we used. In terms of what I added and what else was built into the frame, we've got off camera over here, we've got a white V-flat that's basically throwing some light that's filling out in the foreground these medicine balls right here. I'm sorry, I'm getting used to this pen, so you guys have to forgive me for the ugly drawings. But that's basically just adding a little bit of fill and backlighting those foreground medicine balls right there. And then we've got in the deep background, way over here, is a window that is giving us all of this tone. You know, you guys see this nice highlight right here, which is really pretty. And that's adding some separation and giving us some nice layers back there and some depth. And the last one was a LED right off camera over here. I think it was a 2x3 LED. And that was just adding a little bit of edge light on Tehran right here. And so that's giving us some pretty nice shape right there, and separating him from all of this, you know, kind of mid background area, if you will. So that's pretty much it. Pretty easy look to dial in. Once again, just leveraging the available light that we had, especially with the skylight. That was huge. With one LED, and there was the look. You know, as cinematographers, nothing beats good natural light. We spend our time learning techniques to allow us to emulate good natural light. So who would we be to not take advantage of it when we do have it? And that's pretty much what we did. During the location scout, I saw the skylight and said, okay, let's build a good workout scenario around the good natural light we're getting in this area, and that's what we did, and it turned out pretty good. So on this shot right here, we see Tehran. He's doing this warm-up stretch that he does with some stretch bar. I don't know the name of the bar, to be honest with you, but he's doing some sort of stretch. And we're at 28 millimeters on this shot, and there's only 3 or 4 things really happening with the lighting. And so out of frame over here, there's a window, a big window, that is giving us all of this tone on the background, and that's all daylight. And so that's what's illuminating all this. That's what's illuminating all this right here. And so that's what's happening with our background. As far as this key light, right out of frame, I've got an LED panel set at 5600 Kelvin, and it's giving him this really nice side light that's giving him this right here. And it's also kind of spilling onto his fill side a little bit, and it's also giving him this tone on his arm. And so that's just giving him a nice, clean, soft, well, somewhat soft. I think I'd like a road rag on this panel. But yeah, it's just giving him a nice side source that separates him from this background. You can see his exposure on his face compared to the background. And so that's giving us some nice separation right there. And as far as his fill, you guys can see it's kind of warm. And so that's coming from the brick. I shot a light into the brick to give it a little bit of color contrast between this nice white key and his fill side right here, which is a little bit warm. It makes the brown in his skin really pop. And so that's what's going on with this look. Pretty simple. In order to introduce his key light, I think this is worth noting, I actually decided to cut the ambient that was coming in and replace that with the Dracast LED to control it a little bit more. And so without this V flat right here that is actually behind this key light, we would have ambient spilling onto his face, and it would be harder to control the look of that key light. And so you cut and then replace. And so that's what really got going on with this shot. I really like the color palette, and this was just kind of a happy accident. Tehran's got this blue hair that you can see, and that contrasts nicely with the, these red stripes on the wall and the brick. It's just a really nice, gritty, muted color palette that we got, and what really sets it off is his hair, to be honest with you. And you just never know what are those certain things in the frame that'll really set a look off. In this particular one, I think his hair was kind of the catalyst to give it that really neat color palette. Another really cool thing about this look, and I'm not sure if anyone caught it, but I figured I'd share it anyway, was you guys noticed this in the background, and that's actually the logo of the CrossFit gym that we were using. But to me, when I was looking at the monitor, it looked kind of like a target, and so the way Tehran's facing it, it's like he's facing the target. He's got his sight set on a target. And I thought that was just kind of a cool metaphor in this particular frame. And it also shows how you can use interactions between your subject and your background elements just by where you place your subject. And so that was just kind of a cool visual metaphor that I thought was really neat when dialing in this look. So in this look right here, we see Tehran, and he's doing chops at this football field. I got some questions on how I lit this. And to be honest with you, we just used the stadium lights, and we leveraged those particular lights. And so you'll see he's got this backlight happening on his left and right side. And so we've got those backlights. Those are just two stadium lights. And so just to kind of give you guys an idea of where the lights were, we've got a light right here that's high out of frame, one stadium light over there. We've got a stadium light over here. So that's two. So those are his backlights right there. So call those his backlights. We had one over here that was high, and that's his key light. So that's giving him all of this over here. That's his key source. And then we had another light over here that was high that was shooting some tone this way. And so all I did was tell them to shut off this light, and boom, we've got contrast. So that's really it. That was the key to lighting this look, is just leveraging all the stadium lights. We cut off one light to give him the contrast and to give him this nice 3/4 key light over here, and that broke up the flatness, because if we had both these lights, say if we had every light on, it would be really, really even, there'd be no shape. But just by cutting off one light, all of a sudden we've got some contrast. So really, outside of cutting off that one stadium light, all I did was have some PAs and a grip in the background, and they're basically just shooting some haze. You guys can see it up here. It's giving some details in those trees. It's kind of sitting on the ground too, that you guys can see. You can really see it right here. But yeah, so that's just some haze in the background to give it a little bit of atmosphere. I really like these practicals in the deep background, probably offices or something like that. Let's add a little bit of pop of color contrast with the yellow. Pretty easy look to dial in. I also like the home of the Braves right above his head. That was really important to show that, our character, he's brave. Bravery was a big part of this. Him taking this step, him, taking this extra time. This is probably on the weekend or something like that, and instead of going out partying with his friends, he's getting it in, doing these drills and really pushing to make his dreams come true. We've got a lot of really cool repeating shapes. You guys can see all these squares going across. Just a lot of symmetry happening in this with the bleachers. You guys can just see all these horizontal lines happening over here, going all across the frame. And yeah, it just makes for a really cool frame. He's right in the center. You notice where his feet are placed, and boom, right in the center is the whatever yard line. I think that's midfield. Like, that's right in the center where the logo is. And so it's all about where you place your subject. And we got some really nice symmetry in the shot. Just a really, really fun look. A lot of cool shapes. Yeah, just neat. It's nice seeing the orange to kind of add some color contrast. You see the orange that's over here right in the bleachers, contrasting with all of the blue and the haze that we're getting right here in the trees, it's shooting some blue as well. Just a really, really cool, fun frame to dial in. Didn't take long at all. And once again, we didn't have a lot of time. I had all these ideas and previs of how I wanted to light this, and then we got to the location and our time was really cut short. And so it's just kind of like, kind of had to think on my feet quickly. And so it's just kind of taking what you have, leveraging it to the best of your ability. And by cutting off one light, we pretty much dialed in the look. As far as white balance for the football sequence, I'm pretty sure I set the white balance at 5,000 Kelvin. All of the stadium lights were around 5,600 Kelvin, so I set at 5,000, I think, to cool it off a little bit. I'd have to go and look at the metadata, but the great thing about red is that you can change all that stuff in post, so I might have cooled it off a little bit through the grade. I know the blacks were kind of shifted towards more cool tones. But yeah, I think I was at 5,000 Kelvin. Here's a quick behind the scenes shot of the football look. You guys can see this big, big stadium light that's giving Tron a backlight. Right over here in the far corner is one of the PAs. And they've actually got a folded up V-flat, and they're running in and out of frame in between takes, fanning all of this haze that you guys see. So all this haze right here is really coming from over here. And so that's what's going on there. Austin right here, he's got the slate ready. The monitor I'm using right here is the Small HD 502 monitor. It was perfect for this scene. So yeah, pretty easy look. I've got the, you guys can see the logo right here. It's the wooden camera shoulder rig, and so you got this arm right here that is connected to the 502. Got the matte box, the side wings right here, the French flags. So yeah, just really, really cool little behind the scenes shot that we caught on the GoPro. Here's another quick behind the scenes shot. My grip Dan right here, Dan the man, is on the close-up right here bouncing some of that backlight we were getting from the stadium light just to fill out Tehran, fill out his key. And so that's what's going on there. He's just using the hard white and a basic 5-in-1 disc. Pretty simple. Once again, here's the red Scarlet-W right here. You guys can see the wooden camera handle there. Yeah, here's the red touchscreen right here that my AC was using just as basically a controller to dial in settings and stuff like that. And here's the monitor I'm using to operate. Yeah, so just another really cool, simple behind the scenes shot that we got on the GoPro. I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch, and if you like this format, definitely hit that like button and leave a comment below, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.